I am excited to invite Pat Mkhize. He's, as he said, from South Africa, and he's expert in ADR and Weinstein James Foundation International ADR Fellow, and Mandulo Foundation. And he's going to talk about conflict resolution, the African style revisited. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please don't be disturbed when I keep on sipping here. It's my traditional herb. Whenever I stand in front of people of high nobility, I have to keep on sipping so as to draw energy. Yes, my name is Pat Mkhize. I'm an admitted lawyer with an BProc, LLB, and LLM degree. You are familiar with these kind of qualifications. If we had sat down, say yesterday, with some presenters coming from Africa, I'm sure we would have reached consensus to saying, amen. Everything that was presented by Professor Owanzi yesterday covered whatever we wanted, whatever would have said as people coming from Africa, because he covered almost everything. At any rate, we have to continue sharing our benefit of knowledge and experience. Let me go just explain a bit of the topic there in advance. Conflict resolution in African style. You know, in 1989, when I was at Stanford Law School, Center on Negotiation and Conflict Resolution, I wrote an article, Conflict Resolution in African Style. That was in 1989, published by Family and Conciliation Court in Los Angeles. That was in 1989. But this was before our constitutional democracy in South Africa. New constitution came in effectively from 1994. The constitution changes a lot of stuff that I had said earlier. Not so much changed, but it had an effect of interfering with what I had said in my article in 1989. That's all I wanted to say.
You're holding it upside down.
Eh? Oh, it's upside down. Okay, no, I'm not going to waste your time there. Wherever I have been, wherever I go, whoever I speak to, almost everybody will say, we love peace, we want justice. We want peace, we love justice. But it's so paradoxical that these peace-loving people of the world, they are so conflict-ridden. Despite us almost daily saying, I love peace, I want justice. I love peace, I want justice. But why are we so conflict-ridden? You see, peace seems to be the way people talk about peace and justice. You would see peace overflowing like the oceans of the world. But we are so conflict-ridden. Why is it so? These days, we have got all these legislations. We have got constitutional frameworks, documents which guide us about how to behave. Despite all this constitution and legislation, we're always reminded that failure to comply with values enunciated in these noble documents have often resulted in serious conflicts within the family, community, countries, and against each other. That's disrespect or intolerance of other people's rights tears at every level of our society, from personal relations with ourselves to broader relationships with others. In 1952, there was an article which was published in Durban in one of the newspapers, Ilanga Lasenatali. The journalist there said, in the past, we used to be brothers. There would be peace, conformity. But having annihilated time and space, we created this family world. In this new family world, we find frustration, distrust, fear, confusion, and conflict. There comes an American gentleman, guy, Gerald Oberg, in his book, Justice Without Law. He says, people in the past, I'm talking about people in America, not in Africa, because here we're focusing on traditional conflict resolution values, but your own, or some of your own brother here in the state. He says, during or prior to colonial era, Americans here searched for justice beyond law, without lawyers and without courts. They found this justice within their communities of faith. And also they lived by values that legal institutions could not satisfy. So the important words there, search for justice beyond law. They found this justice within their communities of faith, and they lived by values that legal institutions could not satisfy. These days, we've got these constitutions, we've got legislations, we've got this adversarial approach to dispute resolution. But still, we are still conflict-ridden these days. But during that time, they lived. They had to talk within themselves. They were guided by conventions, not a written constitution, conventions. By this, they lived harmoniously. No. Okay, I've already covered this. Conflict management systems and processes. Most of you know this, you are highly advanced in this area. But conflict management is used to refer to various ways various societies tackle or address and resolve conflict situations. The processes that are utilized are, as you would see, the negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and reconciliation. So let's go to the systems. Conflict prevention. Conflict management entails or means conflict, refers to conflict prevention. But if conflict arises, we do what? We manage conflict. Even our traditional societies, they follow that. If conflict could not be managed, it will be resolved in a variety of ways. I can refer to various institutions. They also use the very same approach systems that were also used by our traditional system. Like Michel in his book, The Structure of International Law, he refers to the very same thing. Perry, in his article, The Age of Hope, he also refers to this very same approach in terms of how to address issues of conflict. Negotiation, the processes that are entailed in all those processes: negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and reconciliation. These processes are overloaded with the values for democracy and human rights. We call it in Africa. The term democracy, human rights, our traditional communities in far-flung rural areas. I must explain that.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, so quick. They refer to, those terms are overloaded with values for democracy. Traditional conflict management values. Butler and Rothstein, they say that the term conflict management, conflict management, you have to utilize, everybody must get involved, must participate. That is inclusive participation, what I refer to as process governance. Robert Bush, he refers to in his article, the argument for quality dispute resolution. He says, what is critical in dispute resolution is the outcome, goal furtherance. In our situation, as a traditional setting, in a traditional conflict management within the family situation, we have to look at how we manage disputes from getting out of hand. In point number one, traditional conflict in a family dispute. Whenever there's a dispute within the family, we have got a mother, we have got a father within the family. Should any dispute arise, the children of the family, it's common knowledge in Africa, particularly in the rural areas. You won't go within the family directly to the father. You approach a mother. A mother is easily approachable to assist, to guide how to address your problem. In a bigger, should a dispute not being able to be addressed and resolved by your mother, you go to your father. Should the father not being able to resolve the dispute, you go to the headman, that is the induna. Beyond the headman, you go to the chief. Within a family situation, our beloved Father Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela, as you know, public knowledge, they had a marital dispute resulting in divorce. During the divorce, Winnie Mandela said, I'm not supposed to be here before this judge. This dispute ought to have been referred, firstly, to the elders within the clan. In our situation, a dispute cannot go on without being heard by the senior member of the family. Mandela said, no, I am not a tribalist. I'm a nationalist. I would have not been expected to refer my dispute to the chief. What Win was saying was in line with our African approach to dispute resolution. If, for example, my wife were to leave me going back to her maiden home, I would be supposed as a husband to follow her. We use the word putuma. Follow her immediately. Go and ask her to come back. The same would be used by my wife's parents. They will have to return her back so that we sit down and discuss the disputes. This is what Winnie Mandela was referring to say, our disputes ought to have been handled within the family first. How if the dispute is no longer between the spouses? It's just a family dispute. It could have involved my wife and other members of the family, not me. Still, the dispute will have to be referred to the mother. The mother had a critical role to play. In fact, it was the first port of call. Then, should the dispute not being able to be resolved by her, it would go to the senior member of the family. That is the crawl head. Why the crawl head? If we were to go beyond the mother or beyond the crawl head, we'll be putting the family, particularly the senior member of the family, in a state of disrepute, because what was critical within the family was that we have to maintain family coherence. If we don't do that, the ancestors, the dead, will come back, will be so angry, and their anger will befall on any member of the family. So this is why a convention would always to be kept. Traditional and religious conflict resolution synergy. In a traditional setup, as I've said, if the wife go away, I have to follow her, putuma, and then ask her to come back. Same as in a religious setup. Still, same as in a religious setup. If a member of the church is being excommunicated, the minister would say, look at him, look at her. I'm excommunicating her, but follow her and bring her back. So there was that synergy between our tradition and religion. The hetman and amakos, should the dispute not being settled successfully within the family, which would go beyond the hetman and amakos, that one involves not only the members of the family, now the members of the village. The hetman would come in as a mediator, using sometimes what is called evaluative mediation, not facilitative mediation, evaluative mediation. Should the hetman not being able to resolve the dispute will have to be referred to Inkosi, chief. The chief there would sit around together with his trusted men, and then they'll be able to facilitate the reconciliation. Everybody at that place will have to participate in the discussion and resolution of the disputes, because the main important thing here was not to ostracize the perpetrator, at the same time not to hurt the victim. What was critical here was also to create harmony, preservation within the tribe. Same as what Butler and Rostein say, that is conflict and consensus. I thought we have enough time because we're just two.
You'll have 20 minutes total.
Okay. Technology and advantages. I also heard, I was attending that other group, the other side. One of the presenters said, how are we going to endeavor to incorporate traditional conflict resolution values within the bigger picture, multicultural conflict resolution strategy? Same thing here. If we would wish to make conflict resolution values tapped on by a bigger community or the world at large, technology will play a critical role. We have seen the power of technology. Hashtag. In South Africa, we call it hashtag fees must fall. Had it not been for that free education, the hashtag, students mobilizing, exchanging information through technology, would have not have free education in Africa. Tomorrow, in fact, the free education, my wife was still the Minister of Higher Education when this free education was adopted. She was the Minister of Higher Education. Tomorrow, on the 1st of August, this is what is called total shutdown. Women in South Africa They mobilized, they walked all the way from Johannesburg, from all over to Pretoria, to say to the president, you must address issues of domestic violence. Again, it's a coincidence. My wife is the coordinator of an organization which will be, through which this total shutdown would be run. So what I'm saying is, let's use technology to disseminate the values that we're talking about here. The power of democracy lies in the spread of knowledge. If we disseminate knowledge through technology, a lot of people will benefit, particularly from these values, from the values we're talking about. Our former Chief Justice, Dehang Bosenek, he laments the way politicians, particularly leaders of various political parties, they will say in Parliament, if you don't listen to us, we're going to approach the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court is going to hear, possibly, or hopefully hear us. The Chief Justice is saying, no, we must utilize conflict resolution approach. We have the last sentence there. But in the end, a just society envisioned in our Constitution will emerge only from a truly democratic and socially inclusive practices of our people. The last one, right at the end. What challenges do we have? The challenges are this. The first one, in almost all constitutions, but particularly our South African, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. If it is the supreme law of the land, the challenge is this. Those traditional conflict resolution approaches, even though they're also provisioned in the Constitution, but if anyone would challenge them, challenge the way we resolve conflicts in a traditional way, you approach the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court, who knows, may say, hey, it's good that we are practicing this thing from time immemorial, but now we have got a constitution. In a constitution, we have to follow a constitutionally approved processes, adversarial process. Yes, in South Africa, we've got a pilot project called mediation, court-connected mediation program. But that thing is not working. It has collapsed. It's collapsing. Even if it had not collapsed, it incorporates a Western approach of conflict resolution, the so-called alternative dispute resolution. In our approach, traditional conflict resolution, there was nothing alternative. We don't have any alternative. You have to sit down and discuss it. If you don't, you're going to go to the headman. From the headman, you go to the chief. Before the chief, eventually, a decision will be made because the chief will act like an arbitrator. Even though the chief is acting like an arbitrator, but not all will be lost. Because whatever punishment is meted, we are not going to be ostracized out of the community. We will be reintegrated. Even if you pay a fine, that fine will be utilized to buy a goat. That goat will be slaughtered and being eaten by everybody. The last one, conclusion. The conclusion, your own former Supreme Court Justice, Sandra Day O'Connor, he said, the courts of our jurisdictions are not the courts of first resort. They are the courts of last results. That is the courts to be approached when all other things have been tried and failed.
Thank you.
Let me end there. I know I have.
Thank you.
I've bulldozed you a bit by going beyond what you have.